Hey guys, it's Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a recommendation video for you of my favorite bad boy romances. I've done this video twice already. I will link the other two down below. None of these are on either of those lists. I double checked. I love bad boy romances. They are romances where the guy is not a good guy. Well, he's nice to the girl, but he has a bad past. He doesn't follow the rules. Sometimes he's in a motorcycle club, and these are the guys that they will show their sweet side to the girl, but to everyone else, they are not so nice. So I'll go ahead and get to my recommendations. The first one I have for you is one I recently just finished, and it comes out this week, and it is Bullseye by Monica James. I was sent an e-arc of this, and I finished it, and it was really, really, really good. So when I first started, I wasn't sure if I would like it because it is about a guy who just got released from prison and he's dead set on revenge, and we don't know why, we don't know what it is, we don't know who it's against. And then we have our girl Lily, or she goes by Tiger Lily, at the club she dances for, and so he calls her Tiger. And she is also a dancer and a dance instructor, and she has a son who is about 8 years old, I think, and he meets her because he decides to get a job as a bouncer at the club because he can't really get a lot of jobs with a criminal record, and he instantly likes her and she likes him, and the story goes from there. I really enjoyed this one. It was a little slow in the beginning for my taste, and I called the ending probably like 20% of the way through, so I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars, a very high 4 out of 5 stars, but it was really good. A lot of dark content. We have him doing some fighting rings, we have him killing people? I don't want to spoil anything, but there is some graphic death scenes in here as well. Monica James is not afraid to go there. I have another book of hers on this recommendation list. She writes really great dark romances, so if you like that and a guy dead set on revenge for a really good reason, I am okay with him killing these people. You should read this book. On that same train, I'll go to the next Monica James book, and that is Bad Saint, or this entire trilogy. Bad Saint, though, was my favorite of the three. It was the first one, and our main character is her wedding night, and she is a virgin, and she is in love with her husband. They've only met, though, for 3 months until they got married, and then she is kidnapped, and the entire book is her being taken to her captor. And so it was these guys that kidnapped her, and then they're taking her to the guy that, like, wants her. And so Saint is one of the guys that kidnapped her, and she is intrigued by him compared to all the other ones where she's just disgusted and grossed out by, and she can tell Saint feels some remorse for what he's doing, and he is actually like a real person. And it's their romance. It's so good. If you like the whole captor-captive romance, I would recommend this so much. It does change tone a little after the first one because they're not on their boat anymore while she's being captured, so keep that in mind, but it's really good and I'd recommend it. The next one I recommend is Gypsy King by Devney Perry. This is another 4-star read for me, but I still really enjoyed it, and I think you guys will like it. Our main character is a reporter, and she is back in her hometown after trying to make it big in a city and realizing she's not really happy where she is, so she moves back home to work for her father's newspaper, and she wants to like make it big in her small town, and so she decides to investigate the motorcycle club that randomly disbanded. And the night she's there, I believe, she sees that the old president is accused of murder because there's a dead body in his hotel room. I might getting a little details wrong, but that's basically the gist of it. And so she goes to his son, who I believe was the president at one point of the MC, and she's trying to figure out what happened to the club and what their deal is and try to like break the big case and who murdered this woman, if it was really his dad or not. And she ends up falling in love with the guy. And so I do think their romance was a little like too hot and heavy too fast for my liking, but it was still really good. And obviously he's the old MC president, so he's definitely a bad guy. He has a lot of secrets and a lot of criminal history, so if you like that, check out this book. The next one I have is Bound by Honor by Cora Riley. This is book 1 in the series. It is the Kimura Chronicles? I don't remember what the series is called. But this is about a girl, Aria, who is betrothed to Luca, who is this mob boss since she was 15 by her family, as a sort of public relations, not public relations, as sort of like a strategy to get the families to get along. And so she's known since she was 15 that when she turned 18, she's gonna have to marry him. It is legal. She turned 18. And so I think he's like 25 when they get married, so there's a bit of an age gap, and she's terrified of him. She thinks he's gonna hurt her, and he's a bad guy. He's part of the mafia, but he's very sweet to her and very understanding, and he's still very stern, but he doesn't ever take advantage of her, which is what she's terrified of, and he doesn't do that, so there are no consent issues in this book. He makes sure that she is comfortable with him, and he never pushes things too far, which I appreciated, which is a huge thing about this book because she is terrified of him in that respect since she is now his wife. So it's really good. Most of it does take place though like at home because that's where she stays. She doesn't really go out a lot until the end, so that might bother some people, but I really liked it and I would recommend it as a mafia romance. The next one I have to recommend, I'm blanking on the author's name, but the picture's right here. I think it's Alaska Wild or Alaskan Wild. It is a romantic suspense, but our main character, Guy, is this giant Alaskan bearded man, and he is actually meeting our main character who is part of the FBI. He meets her because he is a prisoner because he is wanted by the military for something he did, and he's been hiding out in the Alaskan wilderness for the past few years all on his own, and they end up being on the plane with this huge white-collar criminal who has convinced the two marshals or whoever are taking him into captivity that to help him escape, and she doesn't know that, and she jumps like into the plane to get a ride somewhere. The plane ends up going down because that's the plan to get this guy out of captivity, and she and this Alaskan barbarian man have to survive together, and it's really good, and she doesn't know whether to trust him or not because she's like, oh my god, it's this guy who has this criminal record, he's wanted. She figures out what he's wanted for, and she's like freaking out, and she doesn't know if she can trust him. So it's really good. I really enjoyed this one. If you like that kind of Alaskan survival story and more of a romantic suspense, I would recommend checking this out. To throw in a different bit of a genre, I have The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. This is one of my favorite historical romances ever. This one is about a girl who is very young when she's in an orphanage, and the like principal owner of the orphanage school thing ends up trying to make a move on her, and she has this boy that she's absolutely best friends with, and they've already decided they want to spend forever together. They have this like fake wedding, and he ends up, I think, killing the guy or like really hurting him because he tried to take advantage of her, and then he ends up being sent away to this like work camp, like an awful work camp, and she never sees him again, and then she hears that he had died, and so now it is present day and she's working for the Scotland Yard, I believe, or the British one. She's working for the police. I think she's in England and then goes to Scotland later, and I read this last year so it's a bit fuzzy on these specifics, but this guy shows up and he's actually the best friend of her deceased love. He was also in that camp, and he is a highwayman. He is very wealthy and above the law and breaks the law all the time, and then ends up kind of kidnapping her and taking her to Scotland. So it's really good. She really doesn't want to like him, but there's intense chemistry between them, and I love this so much. One of my favorite historicals of all time, and I would definitely recommend it. The last one I have for you is Creedence by Penelope Douglas. This one is interesting because we have 3 love interests in this, and only one of them is really the bad boy. I don't know how to explain this book. So we have our main character whose parents decide to kill themselves. They don't kill each other. I think the mom has cancer, and so the mom and the dad decide to end things on their own terms and commit suicide together, leaving their daughter alone. So she has to move in with the only living relative she has, which is her dad's stepbrother, so it's her step uncle, in the middle of the mountains, and when winter comes they don't leave there for 3 months, and so she moves in with them, and they are these mountain men, and they don't get along with each other, but it is the dad and the 2 sons, and the one son is psychotic, and he spends weeks on end in the woods alone. He doesn't talk to anybody, and he's kind of crazy, and so there are kind of it's dubious consent, I would say. It's like, I said no, but he knew I meant yes. Take that as you will. But she ends up having relations with all 3 of them, and you don't know who she ends up with. So it is a reverse harem. It is our main character with a bunch of guys. So very different for Penelope Douglas, but he liked that bad boy, rough and tough kind of romance. Caleb in this book is definitely the silent, dangerous, psychotic character. So if you like that, read Creedence. And those are some bad boy romance recommendations. Let me know down below if you have any recommendations for me to read. I would love to hear, and I will link down those 2 other videos I've done so you can check those out as well. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.